Hi everyone. In this video I'm going to go into the camera app and show you some techniques that you can use for taking better photos. One thing that most people just do is they simply open up the camera app and they take pictures, not realizing that there are a lot of features that you can do that will help take a better photo pretty easily. One of the simplest things that you can do is by touching the screen, you can set both the focus and the exposure on the area that you touch, which comes in very handy in situations where there's a bright area or a dark area, and that's actually the area that you need to focus on and set your exposure for. It's a little tough for me to demonstrate that indoors as I'm doing some screen recordings here, but what I've done is I've set the focus and the exposure for the very front of the image where the stapler is. Again, simply by touching the screen and doing that, it'll focus in on the spot that you touched, and it'll do its best to set the exposure for that area. Now let's just say in this particular instance we wanted to make sure that the can of air duster in the back is actually more in focus. Again, I could touch right in that area there, and it's going to zoom in, it's going to focus in on that text and make sure that it's set properly for that spot where I touched. Again, same thing would apply for MKA on the mug. Now you'll notice that there's a major shift there because the mug is kind of a darker color, and when I touch there, it also adjusted the exposure. That's why the table is very washed out now. So that doesn't really look great. So again, if I touch the table, you can see how it changes the exposure for the table itself. Okay, so with that said, you can also lock the exposure and the focus by pressing and holding for a period of time, right? So if I press there and I hold, you'll see what popped up there at the top. It says AEAF lock. Auto exposure, autofocus lock. So I've locked it so that it's exposing for the mug, and it's focused exactly where I touched as well. Now you would think, all right, well, that doesn't do me any good because now the table is a little too dark. You can make adjustments. Once you've locked in your focus and your exposure, you can simply drag your finger up and down to the right of that little box. See, once you touch it, and by bringing it down, you can manually adjust the exposure of your image. Right? This is something that most people don't know exists, but you can set this up and make the adjustments so that you get it exactly the way you want it to look before you take the picture. Once you make those necessary adjustments, press the button, take your picture, and now you've got a perfect exposure and focus exactly where you needed it to be focused. And that's all there is to it.